like science fiction, the world of comics is a fairly small universe, and we sort of, not everybody knows everybody, but a lot of people know each other. Move down just a little bit. Catch the top of the eye. A little more. Get more. Down, keep on down. That's good. That's it. Now this, of course, is Dave Stevens. Well, go ahead, Teddy.
Well, Dave Stevens' work. I was introduced to this by our mutual friend Terry.
Yeah. And I introduced him.
You have got to see this stuff. Wow.
Yeah.
Not only was every panel just so lovingly rendered, but it was so historically accurate.
Yeah.
This guy knew his 20s and 30s.
But Dave Stevens is an artist whose work you would know if we pointed it out to you, because many movies have featured it. And Dave, many years ago, started doing the Rocketeer. Now, if you'll notice, the actual Rocketeer is the character who was in an old American serial, a movie serial from the 40s, called
King of the Rocket Man.
King of the Rocket Man. Yeah. And it was in public domain. And Dave took the image and called him the Rocketeer. Then, and this, I don't know if you can see it. Go to the table. Can you see this here? This is the Rocketeer, who looks almost exactly like Dave Stevens. Dave looks like a movie idol. In fact, in the Rocketeer movie, the kid that they picked to play the Rocketeer was uncanny. He could have been Steve's brother. And as a consequence, Dave, who has a fetish for strippers and women with certain parts of their bodies larger than others. Dave has been married to actresses like Rick Stevens, and he's hung out with a lot of very beautiful women. He was fascinated by the 1940s, 1950s model Betty Page. And Betty Page had been totally forgotten by everybody except those of us who had worked with her. I worked with Betty Page, and picked her pictures for Rogue magazine when I was editor there. And he used her as the image for the Rocketeer's girlfriend, Betty. The third character here is called Peavy. And Peavy is the mechanic who is the buddy of the Rocketeer. But the face is of, he just died last year, and just, it broke all of us up. Doug Wildey, the great Western comic artist, Doug Wildey. In fact, in the very first issue of Harlan Ellison's Dream Corridor, the story that is in your Eidolons there, The End of the Time of Leonard, was adapted in paintings by Doug Wildey. And Dave and I adored Doug, and Doug was a good friend of all of us, so we put him in as a character too. And everything in the strip is not only historically accurate, like using the GB, which is the old 6-day plane races plane that we had in America. Everything was absolutely accurate and became an instant hit. But Dave is such a fanatic about precision that it took him 10 years to do 4 issues of this comic book. 10 years. And that's why there's that.
I've been collecting them. They're the slowest artist in the
business. This was the collected chapters. This was all 5 of the collected chapters, and I think there were 2 more after this. Well, then they bought it for a movie, and the movie died for various reasons. I think a bad script is probably the reason. And Dave got screwed out of all the money on the merchandising and everything. But he's the sweetest guy in the world, very mild, very quiet. And the funny thing is, if you were to call his home, if you had his number, he lives in a warehouse. He bought an old warehouse. And if you call his answering machine, my wife answers. This is Dave Stevens. You know, he loves her British accent. So my wife is this throaty model that you hear on Dave Stevens' machine.
But what I loved about this was, and we were talking about this, the fact that modern comics seem to be colour styled now with computers, where artists are just dropping gradients into it, and there's no sense of depth. And then you're just hit with this massive colour, you can't resolve the image. And now, the way Dave was rendering them, he's using a watercolour wash with pencil rendering over each panel.
First of all, he's basically lazy. I mean, a great many people who turn out a lot of work. I mean, I'm basically lazy. I've only done 63 books and 1,700 stories and 2 dozen movies. I'm lazy, trust me. I could do twice that much if I would get off my ass, but I don't. And Dave is even lazier than I. He would, if it's raining, well, I can't work today. If the sun is shining, oh, again, it's too bright, I can't work. And so it only happens when I'm, on the birth of a 2-headed cat. I've got a page of the Rocketeer, but it's worth waiting for. Lives in LA. One more small thing.